Welcome to my channel. My name is Ria and this is your weekly astrology horoscope for the week of 9th May to 15th May 2022. So for this video, I'm going to talk about the astrology for the week, and then towards the end of the video, I will pull a few cards for the week's energies. And before we begin, I request you to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you can be notified every time I post a video. So let's get started. Now, this week we have a lot of important events happening. Mercury is going to go retrograde. Jupiter is changing signs. We also have Sun squaring Saturn. We have Venus conjuncting Chiron. We have the Sun conjuncting the North Node. And this is technically on Monday, but I'm going to speak about it in this video. We also have a full moon lunar eclipse on May 16th. So a lot to talk about. And before we get into this week's energy, I just want to mention that we are in between eclipses, right? There was an eclipse on 30th April, 1st May, depending on your location, the date could have varied. But 30th April, 1st May, around then, and there will be an eclipse on 16th May. So we are in between eclipses, right? And this period of about 2 weeks is karmic, it's destined, it's fated. So I just thought I'd tell you guys. So this week we are in between eclipses. So let's talk about the first thing. Now the chart is open to Tuesday, I believe, yeah. And the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that Mercury here is going to go retrograde. So let's see that. I'm going to show you guys. It's 4 a.m. right now, and if I move up the chart by an hour, then Mercury goes retrograde. From black font, it's red font. So let me show you guys again. It's in black font and then it changes to red font. So it's gone retrograde, and Mercury is going to go retrograde in the signs of Gemini and Taurus from 26 degrees of Taurus to 4 degrees of Gemini, and it's going to be retrograde till 3rd of June. And Mercury retrogrades, generally speaking, are not the best time to sign new contracts. Communication can slow down, gadgets can malfunction, right? So just keep these things in mind. And Mercury will be the second planet to go retrograde on 29th April. Pluto here, okay, Pluto here went retrograde, right? And now Mercury has turned retrograde, and slowly all the planets will start to go retrograde. And what that means is slowly things will begin to slow down, right? The pace at which things have been moving, especially since Feb into April, that pace will slow down a notch. So Mercury will be retrograde till June 3rd. Not the best time to sign new contracts. Communication can suffer. It's a period of review, right? We do a lot of review when planets go retrograde. And in this case with Mercury, it's to do with our thinking, our communication, our day-to-day lifestyle habits, etc. So we'll be reviewing these things. And in the sign of Gemini and Taurus, right? Gemini themes and Taurus themes will come under review as well. Gemini is the sign of communication. So a lot of focus on reviewing communication and reviewing thinking. And Taurus is the sign of finances, of material possessions, of our skills. So a lot of review in those areas as well. And of course, wherever Mercury is in your chart, right, that's what's going to come up for review as well. So that's Mercury retrograde on 10th May, Tuesday. Now, on the same day, we have another important event, and I'll show you guys. You can see right now, Jupiter is at 29 degrees of Pisces, right? And I'm going to move up the chart, and it's going to change signs to Aries. And let's see that happen. Okay, there we go. So, Jupiter has changed signs. And Jupiter spends about a year in a sign, right? It takes about 12 years to go over all the signs. So it's entering the sign of Aries after 12 years. And up until now, it's been in Pisces. Now, to be honest with you, Jupiter really prefers to be in Pisces as compared to Aries. And that's simply because Jupiter used to rule the sign of Pisces. And what that means is that Jupiter functions really well in Pisces. It doesn't function as well in Aries. And what do I mean by functions well. Jupiter is the planet of gifts, blessings, rewards, lessons, and healing. And when Jupiter is in Pisces, those come about easier, right? It's much easier for them to come about, for blessings, rewards, gifts, healing, closing out the past, especially in the sign of Pisces. So all that happens much easier. And now it's going to enter the sign of Aries. It's not to say that the gifts, rewards, the healings, the blessings will stop. It's just that it's a different energy, right? It's not as easy as when Jupiter is in Pisces. Now, Aries is a Mars-ruled energy, right? Mars is the ruler of Aries, and Mars is the planet of action. It's the planet of our drive. It's the planet of energy. It's the planet of starting things, right? Aries here is the first sign of the zodiac, and it's great at starting things, right? I want this, I'm going to do it. That's Aries. So Aries energy is like that. It's go-getting, it's impulsive, it's courageous, it's bold, and it gets what it wants. But Aries is also the sign, like I said, ruled by Mars, and Mars can be a very aggressive planet. So that energy is there as well. And what does Jupiter do apart from giving blessings, rewards, healings, lessons? It is also a magnifier. It expands anything it touches, right? So in this case, we are going to feel the expansiveness of the Aries energy. On one hand, a lot of courage, a lot of boldness, a lot of drive, a lot of initiative to start things, right? We have that. But at the same time, every sign has a positive manifestation and a negative manifestation, right? And I'm not saying if you're an Aries person, you're these things. I'm just saying Aries energy by itself can manifest in these ways. I have an Aries moon, so I'm just talking about the energy, right? I'm not talking that if you're Aries, you're like this. No. So coming back to Aries, the positive of Aries is that it really gets what it wants. It takes action. It does not hesitate to take action, right? It says, I want this now, I'm going to get it. Think of the athlete, think of the warrior, think of the entrepreneur, right? That's the Aries energy. But like I said, every sign has a dark side, a negative manifestation. And with Aries, that can be aggression, that can be being too impulsive, not thinking it through, right? You say, I want this, I'm going to go get it. No thought. So again, I'm not saying if you're Aries, that's you. I'm just saying Aries energy manifests like this. So the dark side of Aries is not thinking things through, being too impulsive, not finishing things that you start, right? Because Aries is great at starting things, but Aries is not great at finishing things. So just keep these things in mind. And I would say, to sum up this Jupiter in Aries energy, right? There's a lot of courage, there's a lot of initiative, there's a lot of drive, there's a lot of energy to start things, to take action, to go after what you want. But be mindful of being too impulsive and be mindful of not thinking things through, right? And Mars is also the planet of aggression. So just keep that in mind as well. And Jupiter will magnify everything that Aries is. So that's Aries, Jupiter in Aries in a nutshell. Now, Jupiter is going to be in the sign of Aries after 12 years. So it's not a very common energy to see, to feel, to go through. And for your personal charts, if you are familiar with your personal charts, look for Aries, right? Whichever house Aries rules for you, that's where you'll feel the energy of Jupiter. And Jupiter in your personal chart can bring lessons, rewards, healings, gifts to that area of your life. So for example, if you're an Aries rising, right, and Aries is your first house, then it's going to bring lessons, gifts, rewards, and healings to your first house, to your identity, to your appearance, to how the world sees you, to how you see the world, right, to your leadership skills. All these things. So another example would be, say you are a Pisces rising, right? So Aries is your second house, which means the blessings, gifts, rewards, healings, lessons will come to the matters of the second house. Financial matters, matters associated with learning new skills, associated with wealth, acquiring possessions, that sort of thing. So wherever Aries is in your personal chart, if you're familiar with your chart, look at the house, and that's where the gifts, blessings, rewards will come for you. So Tuesday is a big day. We have Mercury going retrograde and we have Jupiter changing signs, and that means a shift in energy. So I want to show you guys something before we move on to the next thing. Last week, right, we had a lot of Pisces energy. We had 4 energies in Pisces: Mars, Venus, Jupiter, and Neptune, right? And now if you see the chart, we only have Mars and Neptune in Pisces, which means the Piscean energy that has been extremely intense for the past 4-5 weeks will start to go down. Right now we have a lot of energy moving into Aries. Venus moved into Aries last week. Jupiter is entering Aries this week. Chiron has been there for a while. So we'll see a shift, right? Pisces energy is about spirituality. It's about learning about unconditional love. It's about closing out the past, right? A lot of subconscious closing out the past happens in Pisces. It's a very spiritual energy, creative energy, go with the flow sort of energy. But Aries is different. So now more focus is on Aries. Aries is starting things. It's taking action. It's initiative. It's the beginning point. It's not the closing out the past point. So we'll see that shift. And since the beginning of the year, there have been major shifts, right? Jan, Feb, we had a lot of Capricorn and Aquarius. Capricorn energy is about hard work, discipline, decisions, and Aquarius is also about work, but a different kind of work. It's scientific work, it's innovation, it's progress. And then the energy shifted to Taurus and Pisces, right? A lot about closing out the past, a lot about, we still have a lot of Taurus, by the way, so that still continues. But now from Pisces, we are moving into Aries, starting things, taking action, making things happen. And all this is happening at a point where 2 planets are retrograde. And Pluto retrograde, we don't feel as much because it's very slow moving energy and it's got more to do with our subconscious rather than the material world. But when planets like Mercury, Venus, and Mars go retrograde, we feel that. We feel that more intensely. And now Mercury has gone retrograde. So what I'm trying to say is that we'll feel a slight slowdown in communication, perhaps in our thinking, perhaps things will come up for review. But we have a lot of energy and drive to take action and make things happen, Aries. But be mindful of the dark side of Aries, right? Be mindful of that. And let's move on to the next thing. Let's move on to May 15th. So let's move the chart. And on May 15th, we will have the Sun square Saturn, right? So the Sun here is in a square with Saturn, 90 degrees. And in astrology, a square, a 90-degree angle is considered to be challenging, right? It's considered to bring about changes. And it's not a negative thing, right? Because only through challenge do we change, and only through change do we grow. So essentially, a 90-degree angle brings about the most growth, brings about the most evolution, although it requires us to work hard. So the Sun in this case is our identity, it's our emotions, and Saturn is the planet of structure, of hard work, of decisions, of discipline. And they are making this 90-degree angle, which requires us to change something, to grow, evolve, etc. So generally speaking, Saturn and Sun, they don't really like each other that much. So what I'm trying to say is that we might be required to take decisions, to grow, to evolve, connected to our identity. And it might feel like work, right? It might feel like work, but anything worth having usually feels like work. So this is that moment, this is that day where through hard work, through decisions, discipline, defining things, giving structure to things in our lives, right, we might grow. Because the Sun is our consciousness as well. We might evolve in our consciousness. We might grow. We might change our identity in some way. It could be something like this, right? Saturn says, hey, What about this thing in your life, right? What about this new thing that you wanted to do? Why haven't you started it? And then you say, okay, I decide that I'm going to start this new project. So it could be something like that. But obviously, if you're starting something new, it does feel challenging. It does feel stressful. So that's happening on Sunday, May 15th, right? And on the same day, now Venus has moved on. So I'm going to back up the chart so you can see this. And on the same day, we also have Venus and Chiron conjunct, right? Now, Chiron is the planet of our wounds. It's the planet of self-healing as well. It's the planet that says, okay, you know what? We all have wounds, we all have pain, but you have to heal yourself, right? Chiron is the wounded healer who healed himself. So that's what we need to do with Chiron. Usually we need to face a wound or a pain and then heal from that. And Venus here is the planet of our relationships. It's the planet of our finances. It's the planet of our appearances. It's the planet of our material wealth, right? Venus is a lot of things. And it's meeting up with Chiron, the planet that makes us face our pain. So what could happen is that we might be required to face certain things, certain wounds, certain not so pretty things connected to Venus, connected to our relationships or projects, right? And since Saturn and the Sun are going to square on the same day that Venus and Chiron are going to conjunct, it could very well be that we don't feel that great about, say, a relationship. This is just an example. It could be anything, right? Or we don't feel that great about our project, right? Wounds are coming up, a feeling like I'm not good enough or I can't do this. So those sort of feelings might arise when it comes to relationships or projects, and through that, right, we say, okay, you know what, it's time to decide, Saturn, it's time to take a decision. Maybe you say, you know what, I am good enough to start this project. Or you say, this doesn't work for me, this new thing's gonna work for me, and it's okay, I'm ready to do that. So the energy might not feel easy, but that doesn't mean it's negative. It can bring about a lot of changes, but we might need to face our pain, we might need to face our wounds, and the goal is to heal, the goal is to decide, the goal is to give structure to things. So that's Sunday. And let's talk about the highlight. Pacific time, it's Sunday. So Pacific time, it's this week. For most of the world, this is going to be Monday, 16th of May. And what's happening here is the full moon lunar eclipse. Now you can see the moon is at 25 degrees of Scorpio. The sun is at 25 degrees of Taurus. When the sun and the moon oppose, that's a full moon. And when it's next to the nodes, the south node in this case, it becomes an eclipse. Now, eclipses are karmic. So we have been in that karmic zone, in that fated zone since 30th April, 1st May, depending on your location. And what happened on 30th April was a new moon solar eclipse, right, which brought about new energy. It was a new beginning point. And for more details, you can watch my eclipse video. But that started this whole energy. And a full moon eclipse is a release point. It's an emotional release point. It's an end point. It's a completion point, culmination point. So it's all these things. And that's what a full moon eclipse is, full moon lunar eclipse is. And it's happening in the sign of Scorpio, right? It's in the sign of Scorpio. And Scorpio is the sign associated with transformation. It's a very spiritual sign as well. It's the sign associated with finding things out, right? Digging really deep to find things, find hidden information, hidden truths. And Scorpio is also associated with healing, right? It's a lot of healing, it's a lot of release. So that's Scorpio. And the moon does not really like to be in Scorpio. It's debilitated in Scorpio. So what that means is the moon doesn't feel comfortable in Scorpio, and the moon is our emotions. So our emotions don't feel comfortable when the moon is in Scorpio and this eclipse is in Scorpio. Which is not a bad thing, It just means that there's a lot of transformation. Scorpio themes will be highlighted. Scorpio is about transformation. It's about emotional release. And the eclipse by itself, since it's a lunar eclipse, full moon lunar eclipse, it's about release. So a lot of release, a lot of transformation, healing, catharsis. We might end some things in our lives, we might begin some things in our lives. But the overall energy of a full moon eclipse is of release, of endings, of completions and culminations. I will break down this energy in my full moon eclipse video, but generally speaking, let me just cover it real quick in this video as well. So that's what Scorpio is, and I'll sum up Scorpio one last time. Transformation, information coming to light, healing, catharsis, endings and beginnings. Those are the major themes. And it's at 25 degrees of Scorpio. So if you are familiar with your chart, look at 25 degrees of Scorpio, that axis, Scorpio-Taurus axis, that's where you'll feel this energy. So now let's talk about the aspect this eclipse is making. And the most important aspect this eclipse is making is a square to Saturn. 90-degree angle, almost exact to Saturn. Right, and Saturn is the planet of decisions, yes, structure, yes, defining things, yes, doing things for the long run, doing things persistently, diligently, yes. It's also a very karmic planet, right? Saturn is, I would say, the most karmic planet, right? The nodes, the North Node and the South Node. One sec. North Node and the South Node are karmic points, and so is Saturn. And before we move on, let me speak a little bit about eclipses. So eclipse energy stays with us for a much longer time, 6 months at least. Eclipses bring about fated events, karmic events, destined events. So a lot of fated energy is there on Sunday into Monday. And eclipses don't necessarily feel easy, right? So I would say that if there's something happening, take a few days to sit on that energy before reacting, before deciding, before doing things. So that's also there. And eclipses can speed up things, right? If there's something that's been meaning to happen and that hasn't happened, eclipses can make that happen. So that's what an eclipse is. Best to take it easy on that day, especially since it's a full moon eclipse, a lot about release. It's best to not decide, not react emotionally, not be emotional. I know it's hard, right? Because it's about emotional release, but if we know that it's not best to react that day, then we might not react that day. It's not best to react on an eclipse. Take time to let that energy sink in. Karmic events can take place, fated events can take place, and eclipse energy will stay with us for a much longer time. And now let's talk about this aspect to Saturn. So since eclipses are karmic, and eclipses are karmic because they happen next to the nodes, the South Node and the North Node, which are the most karmic points in anyone's chart, and now they're squaring Saturn, another extremely karmic energy. So there's a lot of karmic stuff coming up on this eclipse, right? It could be karmic things that we need to release, that don't serve us anymore, that have played their part, and it's time to say goodbye to those things. So what I'm trying to say is that this is an extremely karmic eclipse. We might be required to take decisions, work hard, be disciplined, give structure to things. So to sum up the week, I would say that there's a lot of shift happening this week. Mercury retrograde, Jupiter changing signs. The weekend, try to take it easy because we do have Venus conjuncting Chiron, the Sun squaring Saturn, and an eclipse in a square with Saturn. So keep stress low, relax, and since it's an eclipse and we are in between eclipses, right, just soak the energy and then decide sometime later. Don't be impulsive, because we can be impulsive. There's a lot of Aries. Jupiter is in Aries, and it's going to magnify that Aryan energy of taking action, but also of being impulsive. So now I will pull a few cards for this week and then we'll close it out, right? Leadership. I think we got this last week, if I'm not mistaken. Aries is associated with leadership as well. So I think this is just confirming that there's a lot of Aries energy. It's about taking action, it's about taking initiative, it's about going after what you want, it's about leading yourself. Aries. Relaxation, and I think this is the message for the weekend, right? Take it easy, relax, take it easy this weekend. Relationships. I'm attracted to those people who serve my higher good. And I've never pulled this card. So I think a lot of focus on relationships this week. And I think relationships is something that's ruled by Venus, right? Venus is conjuncting Chiron. The eclipse that happened on 30th April, 1st May was in Taurus, a Venus ruled energy. So perhaps a lot of focus on relationships. Maybe what we are releasing or ending or transforming has a lot to do with relationships. Rebirth. Let go of the ties that bind. Full moon eclipse. Letting go. Let go of the ties that bind. And this, I think, has a lot to do with relationship, right? It's ties. It's relationships. So letting go is a big theme. Rebirth. I think last week we got regeneration. I don't remember. I could be mistaken. But rebirth, regeneration, a lot of Scorpio, right? Scorpio is about regenerating. It's about transformation. It's about catharsis. It's about rebirth as well. It's about the rebirth of the Scorpion into the rising Phoenix, right? So, and we have the eclipse in Scorpio. So let go of what doesn't serve you, let go of thoughts that don't serve you, emotions, anything in your life. And I'll show you guys the cards once again. So this is Aries, leadership, a lot of energy about taking action, making things happen, going after what you want. Take it easy this weekend, right? Relax. Releasing, emotional releasing, eclipses, they're not the easiest energies. So take it easy, relax, be kind to yourself. A lot of focus on relationships, a lesson that we need to learn. And rebirth. There's a let go of ties that bind, a lot of letting go. Scorpio is a lot of letting go. But when we let go, we renew and there's a rebirth. So I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you guys in my eclipse video. Bye.